Hi, my name is Max, and today we will talk about steps to increase your sales by 3 times and grow your business. Our guest is Logan Wedgwood, who is the sought after management consultant specializing in business sales and marketing.
Welcome to the show for business owners, proudly brought to you by easyfreight.co.nz.
He is also the author of the book called Grow 3X, Increase Your Sales with Certainty. If you want to learn other business tips, then subscribe to this show now. Logan, would you like to add anything else about yourself or your business?
No, that was a perfect introduction. Thank you for that.
Logan, I'm always curious how other successful business owners operate so I can copy them. And you obviously have done a lot. You've run several businesses. You published the book. Can you tell us what's your morning habit and what do you do in the first couple of hours when you wake up?
So I wake up, I have two young boys, both of them are toddlers, and thus I wake up relatively early, and that's largely driven by them. And I start my day by making breakfast for my two boys, and I have a shower in the morning, make a nutritious breakfast, and so I always make sure I have a good breakfast, and then I pretty much leave early to make sure that I miss the traffic. So I'll leave by just after 7 o'clock in the morning. When I get to work, I open up my computer, I think about the most important things that I need to do that day to have the biggest impact, and I prioritize those, and then I'll start on a few of the meaningful projects first, and then I'll check my emails a little bit later after that just to kind of work out where the edges are in my day and what I need to be aware of. And that's typically how I start.
So there is no magic tactic like doing meditation or yoga or anything like this. It's just practical business stuff, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I have attempted meditation quite a few times, and I am a proponent of it because I've seen it work for other people. However, I'm a bit different in that I'm what you would call an active relaxer. So even if I am in Fiji, I'm not lying on the beach sunbathing. I'm snorkeling and diving and fishing and riding around on boats and jet skis and things. And my way of relaxing is to do very high intensity workouts. So I box regularly, a couple of times a week, and that kind of style of very hard training is what allows me to escape from my brain for a short period of time. So maybe 45 minutes to an hour at a time, I'll do an intense workout, and that'll help me escape. And then when I've finished working out, my brain's straight back onto business.
Talking about high intensity, you recently wrote a book about growing your sales by 3x. Why didn't you decide to grow it by 10x?
Yeah, good question. When I set about writing this book, I really wanted to write something inherently practical that had real value that a business owner could pick up, dip in and out of, and go, right, I can see how I can apply this to my business. What really annoyed me about 10x, and you can find, or 12x or 20x or any of those bigger numbers, is you can find that there's a lot of books and materials that use that number, and I believe that largely it's used mainly to sell books, not actually because that's the number that is achievable by the business owner. 10x is achievable when you have your hands around a unicorn that is going to go because you got lucky, and a few of the things that you did really well. And the other way to grow 10x is through investment capital. But that's a totally different journey to traditional business, which is a founder has an idea or something that they're passionate about, and they decide to start a business. So they get started, and then they start growing, and they win some customers, and they hire some staff, and the business just starts to grow. That's how most businesses start. The businesses that start with a technical unicorn idea and funding from investors and things is a lot rarer. And thus, I wanted my book to be something that your average business person who's passionate about their business and wants to know what to do to grow can pick up my book, read it, and go, right, I can see how this could work for me. That's what I wanted. And I wanted the target to be achievable.
100% agree with you because there is so much hype about being an achiever and hustle, and you can sometimes drive yourself crazy if you read all these beautiful stories about millionaires, but in reality, all we need is 3x and we're going to enjoy a happy life and our business will grow.
I think there has been a shift in the market where and you're right too, the media paints a lot of positive pictures about people who make millions of dollars in business, but they forget that they're actually just reporting revenue numbers. And I've heard a quote that revenue is vanity and profit is sanity. And when you're saying that somebody's super successful because they've generated a whole lot of revenue, that doesn't actually mean anything, because they might have sold all their products and costs and not even been able to pay themselves. These days, what I'm seeing with my customers certainly is a trend towards, how do I make the business support the lifestyle that I want, as opposed to it being a multi-million dollar unicorn? How do I achieve balance, and how do I earn a really good income without earning unnecessary amounts of money? How do I pay my staff better? Those are the challenges that people are more interested in these days.
Absolutely. One of the things that I noticed in your book is that you talk about self-awareness and some of the things that business owners have to ask themselves and their team. Could you tell us why is it important, how a business owner can become self-aware?
Somebody that's worth your viewers looking up is Simon Sinek, who's a proponent of leadership. And leadership is not my specialist area, so I won't talk about it too much, but it relates quite strongly to mastery, which is one of the sections in my book. For me personally, in anything that I do, I'm always seeking mastery. Whether I'm playing the guitar or the drums and I'm learning that, I'm trying to be better at it every day. Whether I'm boxing, I'm trying to be a better boxer every day. Whether I'm selling, I'm trying to be better at selling every day. Robert Greene's book, Mastery, is a really great one to read, and it talks a little bit about the 10,000 hours rule that you would have heard, stories about Jimi Hendrix and how before the age of, I think, 17, he'd already done 10,000 hours on the guitar, and that's how he became such a superstar. But mastery is actually something that all of us can work towards every single day in small incremental steps, and inherently it helps us get better at any pursuit, whether it's fitness or wellness or business or anything, playing a musical instrument or learning a language. So the self-awareness component of mastery is really important, because if you're not constantly questioning what you need to be working on to be better, if you're not constantly aware of what you are already good at and how you can further develop those skill sets, you're really missing out on identifying the things that can help you move closer to mastery. So some of it just takes time, but the self-awareness piece is really important. And the reason why I related that back to leadership is because if you're a business owner and you're on a journey towards leadership and you're wanting to lead and run a company, your self-awareness and how you occur to others, knowing your values and your personality profile are critical to being able to connect with your people and understand their profiles are and what their values are and whether there's a match. And when you get those things right, you're able to run a much more effective company.
Another tip that I read recently about self-awareness was given by Gary Vaynerchuk. He's still another business owner, and he suggested that you should ask your friends or family members that you trust and ask them, what are you good at or what are you bad at, and tell them that it's a safe environment, you're not going to judge them, and this will give you another example of who you are and what you're good at and what you should improve on. So
that's really good advice, but I would add to that advice, and I would say ask your customers, because several reasons. Sometimes friends and family can be nice to you because they don't want to hurt your feelings and they want to see you succeed, so they support you, and often it's actually the honest feedback that helps you develop, not the feedback that helps prop up your ego. The other thing is, there are also family members and friends in your circle who are not business owners. They work as a salaried employee, and so inherently they don't feel the same level of risk as what you as a business owner or an entrepreneur feel. So when you're a business owner and entrepreneur, the level of risk that you have to live with every day is much higher. Therefore, the way that you shape your decisions is very different to when you're a salaried employee, because a salaried employee has job security. You're not worried about feeding the mouths of other people. You're just making sure that you do a good job and get paid. And that's okay. I'm just saying that the empathy that they have with you might not be as high as if you talk to other business owners. Your customers, if you have a really great customer who's willing to tell you what you could do better, they're absolutely invaluable. I've heard a statistic, and I'm not sure how accurate it is or what the source of that statistic is, but basically 8 out of 10 customers that have a bad experience with your business will just leave your business and not do business with you again and never tell you why. Only 2 of them will actually tell you what you've done wrong and give you the chance to make it right. So actually talking to your customers before they leave and asking what you could be doing better is a really great way to improve the services that you have as a company, and to ask what you can work on to be better yourself as an individual. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. We experience in our business, we experience a similar challenge. And I'd like actually would like to know, how do you approach this? Because when you have dozens or sometimes even hundreds customers and you are busy enough to look after your current job, how do you manage to follow up with someone that hasn't been talking to you, like the customers that not left you, but the customers that have forgotten about you? Does a business owner have to do it themselves, or can he outsource it? What's the system to follow up with customers?
That's a really, really good question, and it's quite a complicated one to answer. It depends on a couple of things. One, you have to consider the wider strategy of your business. So if you're familiar with generic strategy, it's essentially that there's 3 strategies that you can choose between in business, and that's how you gear up the resources in your business in order to deliver on your promises to your customers. So one is operational efficiency, the other is innovation or product leadership, and the other one is customer intimacy. So if you're running a customer intimacy strategy, your key people that front your customer have to be inside the customer's business regularly, weekly, daily, monthly, getting to know them, getting to understand their business to the minutest detail, so that the customer knows you have an understanding of their business and you can deliver on that. If you run a product leadership strategy, and Apple would be a good example, their products are so good, they're never going to discount their price. They're never going to really get to know you as a person, as a customer. You're a faceless person that walks into a store and buys a phone. The only reason they have your data is because when you sign up through your phone, they capture that, but they don't really know you. They don't know why you chose the model that you chose and things like that. If you're doing operational efficiency as a strategy, you don't have the resources to get really intimate with your customers. You can't spend a lot of time in front of them. You're too busy trying to run an efficient operation. So therefore, the business owner is probably not the person that's spending a lot of time in front of the customers. In a customer intimacy strategy, the business owner would be getting around as many of their customers as often as they can and making sure that you hold that relationship tightly. I am a proponent of not just getting in front of your clients to do business and talk about business challenges and issues and things that you're doing to support, but actually meeting your customers as people, going out for lunch or grabbing a coffee, not because you've got anything you want to sell them or not because there's any piece of work that you need to discuss, but actually just because you want to check in with them as a human being. The reason for that is twofold. One, like people, and I like to get to know them. But 2, it's very hard for a customer to fire somebody that they feel is a friend. If you're just a supplier that's faceless, that they never see, and that just answers by email, and then the product shows up at their door, and when times are tough or when they're tightening their wallet, it's very easy for them to say, okay, we'll just get rid of that supplier. When you're somebody that meets regularly as people and you know each other's kids' names and things like that, it's much harder to let go of that person as a supplier. So the more time you spend getting to know your customers, the closer a relationship you build, and therefore the longer a relationship you have.
It is so true, and we experienced it ourselves. We did even some statistic. Most of our clients that support us are the people that we met. So 80% of the income come from 20% of the clients that we knew, that we meet, that we talk. And this personal connection is vital. It doesn't have to be, in our case, regular, monthly, even once a year. To meet a person, going to be a good return on investment.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the 80-20 rule as well, because I've seen that play out even by mistake, and most businesses that I meet with have that kind of relationship with their clients where you've got a core collection of clients that make up most of your revenue, and if you work out how to look after those customers really well and then win more customers like them, you will be more successful. A lot of the other customers that you pick up is really due to, it's maybe not the right word, but it's kind of laziness in the organization where you just sort of take whatever business comes your way because you want to make revenue sales. But actually, if you want a more profitable business, focusing on those clients that make up that 20% would be a better return on your time.
Logan, talking about laziness, how in your book you had an example of a business and a business owner that became a lot more productive by implementing a very simple and practical strategy. That example was about Charles Schwab. I hope I pronounced it
Yes.
correctly. Could you tell us the story and what happened and what everyone can copy from this example?
Charles Schwab owned a number of industrial businesses in the late 18th century, I think it was. And Ivy Lee was a consultant that developed a reputation at the time, and Charles invited him in to consult to his business. And he essentially went round, he said, give me 15 minutes with each of your staff members, and that should do it. Charles was quite surprised at that and said, okay. And he said, well, what am I going to pay you? And Ivy Lee said, you pay me whatever you feel it's worth after you've seen the result. After, I think it was a short amount of time, maybe 3 months or something like that, he wrote a check for Ivy Lee for, I think it was $100,000, or $25,000, which was just a ridiculous sum of money back then for a consultant to spend 15 minutes with a group of his employees. The technique that he shared was he went round to all of Charles's employees and said, start your day by choosing the 3 things that are going to have the biggest impact on the business. Do those 3 things first, and then whatever happens after that for the rest of the day doesn't matter. And I've taken that technique and built it into a couple of the examples in the book, and I've also built it into a piece of software that I've built, which is a sales growth tool that I use with some of my clients. And it's incredible how effective the technique is. It's mind-blowing how effective the technique is. One, it creates hustle. It creates a real bubbling kind of energy in the business of hustle, because every day everybody's turning up and they're just nailing the 3 tasks that they know are going to have a really big impact on the business. 2, over time you start to get more focused on what those tasks are, and the tasks that you choose become more effective, because instead of just saying, I need to sweep the floors and clean the factory, you're saying, actually, the most important thing that I can do is meet with that client and ask him if he can introduce me to that guy, because that's going to win me a hell of a lot more business. So the tasks start to become growth orientated instead of just business as usual orientated. It's probably one of the most impactful techniques that I've discovered, because my mantra was always, and for a long time has been, prioritize for impact. And this is what I have always done before I discovered that technique. And what that meant to me was every day I would turn up to work and I would go, okay, let's say that I only do 20% of my day today, and then I just go, forget the other 80%, get nothing done, I just do that 20%. If I'm only going to do that 20%, what can I do that's going to have the biggest impact on the business? And that's the mentality that I bring in every day. So when I start the day, I'm really effective and I'm working on the things that are going to have the biggest impact. That technique is, they're a very similar technique, and they start to form a mentality of just really getting important things done. The problem that you see in businesses today is, when I work with a group of people, I'll often say, hands up, who starts their day by checking their email? It's almost unanimous every time. Pretty much everybody will say, I start my day by checking my email. What that actually means is you're starting your day and approaching your day by doing what everybody else is asking you to do instead of what is most important for you to do for the impact on the business. So you spend your whole day bouncing around from urgent task to the next urgent task, to putting out this fire, to this customer complaint, to this staff issue, and you just bounce around like a pinball machine off the expectations of everybody else. If you start your day focused on the very few things that are going to have the biggest impact on your business, you can deal with all of that stuff later, and your business will be much more successful.
If you find this information useful, then subscribe to our business show so you do not miss the next interview. Logan, let's talk about the dirty word, networking. How do you do networking? Can you give us some practical tips to avoid common mistakes?
Yeah. I'm not a super strong networker in that I don't tend to generate business when I'm networking, but a technique that I use networking is I genuinely try to understand how I can help the person that I'm talking to. So if I go to a networking event and there's, I don't know, 50 people, and you're walking around the room and you're saying hello to everyone, you're shaking hands, and a lot of people just exchange business cards and try to find a moment to talk about themselves. What I've always thought of is, okay, tell me about your business, and then I'll listen very attentively and try and really hear what's important to that person at this time. And then I think creatively and go, well, who can I put you in touch with that can help you with what you're needing right now? And if I can connect two people that can help each other, both of those people will remember that I was the one that connected them. And thus, when they're going, right, I'm talking to this person and I know that they need help with growing their sales, for some reason their sales are flatlined and they don't know what to do, they need to talk to Logan. And then they connect me. I see networking less about trying to sell yourself to that person right there and then, and more about understanding how you can help more people. And if you help more people help you. It is quite uncanny how it comes back around. I gave some of my time away, a couple of hours to 3 different people before Christmas, and I spent a couple of hours with each of them, and I did some consulting work with them, and they asked me what it was going to cost and things, and I said, don't worry about it. And I just left it at that. It was Christmas time. I went on holiday. I came back, and then literally, I think it was 3 weeks ago, all 3 gave me a referral, and all 3 have turned into customers that are really big customers for me. And I didn't ask for it. All I did was help somebody out. So I think if you approach networking with a give first mentality and look to help other people first, eventually they'll look to help you as well.
100% agree with you, Logan. Give, and then maybe ask, and it works in many cases. I believe you are involved in 5 different businesses or 5 different projects, and nowadays there is a mentality where people and other business advisors say laser focus on one thing, because if you do many things, you're gonna achieve nothing. So you've got a different approach. Correct me if I'm wrong. How do you advise people to tackle this? Like, if say you've got different projects, if a business owner wants to do many things, how does a business owner approach when there are many options to do?
For me personally, I have very supportive friends and family. There's not a lot of people that demand a lot from me outside of the things that I do for business. So I'm very lucky to have a very supportive group of family and friends. So you can't underestimate how important that is, because if you have a lot of business projects on the go, you're going to work a lot of hours. I work a lot of hours. I genuinely do. My day, so it starts early, sort of 6:30 a.m. when my kids wake up. By 7 o'clock, I'm on the road, either off to see a client or to one of my offices. And then I work until 5 or 6, and then I go home and I do my routine with my boys again, where I feed them dinner, do their bath time routine, and read them a story before they go to bed. So my kids are down asleep by about 7:30, and then I'm back on my computer working until 10, 11 o'clock at night. That's most nights. And on the weekend, I'll do at least 6 hours of work on the weekend too, when my kids are asleep. So I do a lot of hours, but I think the reason why I was able to write a book and manage it or work with a couple of businesses of my own is that I'm very, very disciplined every single day. My day is not much different. I eat very similar food. I dress very similarly. I'm not very creative with what I wear. I'm not creative with my routine. I stick to a very consistent routine that allows me to operate at my best most of the time. And I'm very, very disciplined with the things that I choose to put my energy and effort into versus the things that I don't. I think it's Warren Buffett has a quote, which is, the difference between successful people and very successful people is very successful people say no to almost everything. So so what you've said is true. If you really, really want to grow and scale a business, it's probably best that you just focus on that business. The businesses that I'm involved with have synergy across them. I've had some that didn't work and didn't take, and you could argue that perhaps my focus was split, and maybe they would have if I'd put the energy into them, but at the same time my other ones have, and so then they demanded more energy of me. So maybe it was more like Malcolm Gladwell's tipping point. You get a concept or a business or an idea to a certain stage, and then when you see evidence that it's going to tip over, that's the one that starts to demand the energy of you. So I've had a couple that didn't go anywhere. I've got a couple of technology plays at the moment that are only really at the start line, so they're not very demanding of me. Like my consulting work is super demanding. When I work with clients, I really wear their emotional turmoil. I really wear their business challenges. I really take that stuff home with me and live with it in my head because my job is to help them. So that's very demanding of me. My book work is quite demanding of me with the media and schedules and things like that. But my marketing company that I started with my wife has been running for 8 years now. We have a general manager who's amazing, and I really only get involved at a strategic level through our planning cycles, and if they need me for a big pitch or with an important client or something. And so it's really, again, it's that mantra of mine: prioritize for impact. What's going to have the biggest impact? Spend your time there. Let other people deal with the stuff that is not critical to your skill set.
Gosh, there is a lot to take away, and we'll certainly mention links to your book, to your useful sales tool, so people can check them out later. Logan, how can people contact you later if they want to learn more about you?
LinkedIn is a really good way to contact me. So if you find me on LinkedIn, that is the social media platform that I spend time engaging with. I don't really engage with the rest. You can find my book at grow3x.com, and you can message me through that. If you Google Logan Wedgwood, you'll find most of my businesses and contact forms for all of those, and you might come through to one of my administrators who'll put you in touch. So yeah, just Google Logan Wedgwood and you'll find what you find. And I'm more than happy to catch up and have coffees with people. You never know what comes out of having a conversation.
Thank you, Logan.
Thank you, Max.